video, and we're going to see how this rolls, because I haven't actually done this whole shebang in a hot minute and set it all up. So hopefully it goes lovely. I'm wearing my sweatshirt today that says I'm a delight, because I am, in fact, a delight. And I was laughing because today itself has been a great day. Miss Kristen Noel has received her first ever hate comment, and I am just tickled. I am tickled pink about it. Like, I'm sorry. You're telling me that little old me pissed off a complete stranger on the internet to the point they felt the need to comment? Thank you. Thank you for making me feel so relevant. Thank you for putting me in the position to quite literally, be here for the moment that we all knew would come. And that is when Kristen got to really embrace her villain era, because that is the era that I am in right now. I am in my villain era, and I am living for it, truly living for it. Here's the thing. Here is the thing. When it comes to my villain era, it's really like not even that deep, truthfully, because I was already kind of a villain if you think about it. Like, I'm made for reality TV. I'm telling you, I am truly made for reality television, because I would be the perfect reality TV villain, simply because me on TV, you probably hate me. Like, watching me on a reality television show, you'd be like, that girl is too outspoken, she's loud, she has too many opinions. Like, I definitely would be the one that you watch the show and they truly produce so that, like, you hate me. And then I come off the show and, everyone does their, like, podcast tours or whatever they do, the talk shows. You'd be like, oh, wow, we love her now. Very similar to Shannon Middleton. Like, y'all remember her on Very Cavallari? I always loved her on that show. But everyone on that show was, like, quick to hate on her. And then off the show, everybody loves her. Mainly because I just tell it like it is. I'm totally fine with being that person in life. I don't have a problem with it, because that's just who I am. I'm not mean. I'm not, like, hateful. It comes to my mind and I don't have a filter and I say it. And if it offends you, I just don't understand. Like my hate comment today about the girl who said, oh my God, get over yourself. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. That's never going to happen. Literally, I couldn't get over myself if I tried. I think I'm lovely. I'm sorry that you don't agree. Difference of opinion. But thank you so much for your suggestion. That probably pisses her off more, that I didn't care. Like, I could see Tracy sitting at home right now like, oh my gosh, can you believe what she responded back to me? That was me being polite. Wow. I don't know. I was built for this moment. And I am wildly excited about it. Guys, I don't even really know what to tell you, because I've been taking notes over the last few weeks. Every time something strange happens to me, I just like jot it down, because you know what always happens when I go to record these podcasts? I forget about what happens in my daily life, obviously, because who would remember that stuff? You know what I'm saying? I don't know who really does remember the stuff that happens in their daily life all the time. Like, truly, sometimes I'll be like in the car on the way home and I'm thinking of something and I'm like, okay, you're going to do that when you get home, or, oh, we'll make a TikTok about that later. And then I don't write it down, because I tell myself it's only it's maybe a 25-minute drive from my work to home. But by the time I get home, I've played like an entire Taylor Swift album, and my brain has gone through 20 million different scenarios of why the guy like doesn't love me back, or 20 different scenarios of, in my head I'm listening to a Taylor Swift song and like how the guy like is finally just gonna, get off his lazy ass and love me like the Taylor Swift song says he should love me. And then I get home and I park and I completely forget my original thought, because I have had too many thoughts in between that thought and driving home listening to Taylor Swift and coming up with random scenarios in my head of how I think my life should play out. And if you sit here and are listening to this and are like, who does that? You're a liar. You do. You do. It doesn't have to be Taylor Swift, but you at some point have heard a song and made up a movie about your life in your head about it. Don't lie. We don't lie here. But actually the other day, I couldn't even be the other day. Maybe it was like a week ago. I don't even know at this point. But I was driving past a cemetery and I started thinking, how weird are cemeteries? Truly. Like, they're very odd, right? Like, we just have this plot of land with all these dead bodies inside of it. That's what? Like, my brain really started thinking about it. Like, what do we do if we run out of space? Where do the dead bodies go? And, like, what? What if we, what? So you're telling me we just have this ginormous plot of land reserved for all these dead bodies we just put into the ground? Like, who originally came up with the idea of a cemetery and why? Like, the more I think about it, the creepier it feels and sounds. Like, we just have these ginormous plots of land with these dead bodies just buried in the ground. What do we do when you run out of space in a cemetery? Like, what do we don't I feel like we have more people than we have plots in a cemetery. I truly believe that. So, like, what's the plan here? Are we just going to one day say, okay, you can no longer, everybody has to be cremated because we've run out of space in America to put your dead body in the ground? Like, what's the plan here? I just have so many questions around it. And if anybody could answer them for me, that would be true. Like, honest to God, that would be stellar, because I've been thinking about this rent free in my brain for like at least a week now. Yeah, I just don't know. And I can't even tell you, I think I was driving past a cemetery and I was like looking at it and my brain just started thinking like, this is weird. This is weird, right? Like, we're driving past this ginormous plot of land with a bunch of dead bodies in the ground. That's odd, right? That's like an odd thing to do. I don't know. I just would love to know who came up with this idea of the cemetery, who started it, who was the first dead body we put into the ground here, like active choice. I mean, not like somebody got murdered and we dug a shallow hole and swooshed some dirt over them. Like, who was the first person that died and we said, let's put their dead body in a box and shove it into the ground, and that's what we're going to do with all the dead bodies from here on out? Like, did somebody just die and everyone was like, oh, what do we do with the body? And somebody said, stick it in a box and bury it in the ground? I have so many questions. I just have so many questions. And you know what? I probably could do my own research on that, and maybe I will, and I'll get back to you guys, because truly, so many questions. Another thing I saw this week was like this girl it could have been on TikTok, probably. It's where I find out all these things. She was talking about how her boyfriend was in jail. I think he was going to jail, and she obviously has to tell her family that her boyfriend's going to jail, and how long, and like what they're gonna do, all this stuff. And I thought, could you imagine telling people that your boyfriend is locked up, or telling your parents like, oh, my boyfriend's getting locked up and I'm staying with him? Like, I think if I told my dad my boyfriend is getting locked up and I'm gonna stay with him until he comes home, he would think I'd lost my motherfucking mind. I mean, I guess it would depend, like, what he did. Actually, if you really think about it, it would probably depend what he did. But you know what? I don't know. I really don't know. Because, like, if you're getting locked up, it had to be bad, right? Yeah. So, like, even then, I think my dad would be like, absolutely not. Like, no. What? No. You're just going to I could see my dad saying something like, you're just going to put your life on hold. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask my parents this question and see what their reactions are. Like, hey, so-and-so's getting locked up. What do you think? I'm going to. I should ask my best friend too. You know what? I would love to know what my best friend's mom would say if her husband was getting locked up for something. I should ask Tyler what she thinks her husband would get locked up for. Like, what is something you think, like, what would he do that would get him locked up? I can't even, that man could make best friends with a brick wall. So I can't even imagine him doing something that would land him in jail, you know? I have so many questions today. So many questions just floating around in my itty bitty little head. Oh, hello, Lola. Yes, come, you can sit with me. Oh, let me shift. Okay, excuse me. You came up into my chair. No need to growl. And also, who decided that the middle finger is, like, bad, you know? Like, who decided, like, what happened? I need the backstory on the middle finger. Like, who put this finger up one day and said, this is offensive? Like, there's really not much that I find offensive about my fingers, but who decided that the finger in the middle is obviously the most offensive looking finger? Is it because it's the longest? And why? Like, when did we decide that, like, okay, this gesture, this is the one. This is what's going to really get under people's skin, is seeing my middle finger. I'm flipping you all off in this camera. I apologize. That's rude. But, like, genuinely, have you ever thought about why the middle finger is offensive? Like, what if we just all band together and decide that it's no longer offensive? Like, no, the middle finger is no longer, your middle finger does not offend me. I'm not offended by the sight of your middle finger. I will not, at the sight of you flipping me off. I might giggle now because that's all I could think about. Like, if somebody flipped me off tomorrow, I think I'd giggle. Truly, I think I would just be like, that's funny, because all I could think about is how, like, I don't find your middle finger offensive because I don't find fingers offensive. And, like, who decided that curse words were curse words? Like, at what point did we decide the word fuck was a bad word? Or, like, we took the word shit, which really just is another word for poop, and we decided that that word is a bad word. Is it because of how abrasive it sounds when you say it? Like, oh, you got to be dainty about it. Like, oh, I'm just going to go poo. I'm going to go poo real quick. So, obviously, we're not offended. Or, yeah, well, I guess if you listen to that, like, I'm going to go poo versus I'm going to take a shit. Yeah, okay, that's a little abrasive, but it doesn't have to be a bad word. Maybe we're just like, I don't know, maybe you just don't care. Maybe you just don't give a shit. And that is why. I don't know. I need to know. I have so many questions this week, guys. Like, I need to understand these things in life that have been plaguing my poor mind. And, yeah, they've just been plaguing my mind. I also have this wild story that happened because this month in particular, I've been traveling a lot. And not, like, don't get excited, not to, like, anywhere fancy or anything. I've truly just been going back and forth from Tennessee to Maryland. The first week for, like, New Year's, I went back to Maryland and we went up to the mountains in Maryland. And, yeah, we went up to the mountains in Maryland with my family and we stayed there for the New Year. And it was a lot of fun. But then I went home. I was probably back here in Tennessee for like week and a half, 2 weeks, and then I went back to Maryland for my cousin's baby shower, which was amazing. She looks phenomenal. Like, truly, I hope I look that good when I'm pregnant. But then now I'm back, and I just was at the airport, right? And the weekend of the baby shower, like, that was the weekend before Martin Luther King Day. And maybe it's because it was MLK Day. I'm not really sure. But I was sitting in the airport going from Nashville to BWI, to Baltimore, Washington. And I'm like waiting at the gate, and this is ass crack of dawn. Like, this was at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm sitting at my gate, right? And I'm like waiting, and I'm waiting, and this guy comes through, and he says something like super loud, but I have both AirPods in, so I couldn't hear him. But I like glance up, and he's coming through with a canine, like sniffing people's bags, right? And does anyone else know you have absolutely nothing in your bag? Like, you know, you have no contraband. You've got nothing. You don't even have any snacks in your bag. But for whatever reason, the dog comes by and sniffs, and you get nervous. Like, oh my God, is he going to find it? What is he going to find? What? The 12 books you brought to read that you know damn well you're not going to read? Like, why are we like this? Like, why do I get nervous when I know I haven't done a damn thing wrong? That just must be my anxiety or something. Someone needs to do a deep dive into that. Can I get a therapist to tell me what that is? But yeah, this man comes through with his canine, and he's like, goes around to everyone twice. Not once, but twice. He's like, has this dog sniff bags. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. I wonder why they're doing that. Then, while this canine is going, these like TSA agents roll this cart over, right? And they roll this cart, and they have this like scanner computer thing, and it's 6 TSA agents that are at this gate, and they're all just standing there talking. And then, you know, everyone knows there's like a fire marshal who usually gets on the plane with you, but I never see them. I never really notice them. Like, it never crosses my mind. Like, it just never crosses my mind. But then, like, all these TSA agents are here. Another canine comes up, and it's like these 2 canine. I don't even know what you call the guys who like actually walk the dogs. Canine officers. Either way, it's the 2 dogs. They're 2 officers. All 6 of those TSA agents with the cart and the scanner, and then this fire marshal comes up, and they're all standing there waiting for us to board the plane. And I just start laughing because we start boarding, and as we're boarding, I'm in group B because I always fly Southwest, by the way. So like, I'm in group B, and they start like walking, and group A is going, and I'm like kind of watching as one of the TSA agents breaks away, stops this guy, and goes, okay, your bag. And they just start randomly selecting people to recheck their bags. And I'm like, isn't this what we did in security? Like, wasn't this the point of going through security? Like, they already did this. Aren't all of our bags checked? It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's it, right? Like, that's when they check your bags? I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking wrong. I don't fucking know. But anyways, he starts like grabbing random people out of line. He's like, can I check your bag? One guy had like a laptop, and he like took the guy's laptop out of his hands. Didn't even take his bag. Wasn't even his bag. Like, let the man keep the bag, his backpack on his person, but was like, hey, can I see your laptop? And like scans the laptop. What are you scanning this laptop for? Like, what is happening? Anyways, we get through. Everything's fine, you know, naturally. I'm walking past the guy, of course, I'm boarding on the side that the TSA agent is like walking up and down. I swear to God, I made awkward eye contact with this TSA agent like 4 separate times, because I'm like, do you need to check my bag? You can check my bag. There's nothing in here. I know I'm getting on this plane scot-free because I'm a good citizen. I have no idea why I'm like this. No idea. But my bag did not get checked. I got on the plane. It was fine. Everyone got on the plane. Everything was fine. We flew to Baltimore. It was completely fine. But it was the oddest experience that I'd never seen before. So the whole time I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Was there a bomb threat? Like, what the fuck is all of this for? Still actually genuinely don't know. Like, genuinely have no idea what all of that was for. I also did not get to podcast with my dad while I was there. I'm sorry, guys. When I went up the first time, we were in the mountains, and we stayed in like, it wasn't like super small, but it was, I mean, there's so many of us. Like, there's my mom, my dad, me, younger sister, older sister, her 2 kids, her husband, my grandma. Like, we were all in the same like townhouse. So there wasn't a lot of space or a lot of like places that my dad and I could just sit down and record the podcast where like the kids weren't playing. Like I don't want to take up a whole room where they're playing. That's uncool. And like when I realized they would like go to the pool or like go do stuff during the day. Like my dad was napping and I didn't want to like wake him up and have him podcast when he's trying to like sleep, trying to let the man, take care of himself. So like we never really got around to it, because then once we got back from Deep Creek is when my best friend, she was in Maryland the same time I was. So I'm like, okay, well, I rarely get to see her, so I'm going to spend as much freaking time with her as humanly possible. So I never really, like, there was never a good time. And then the day that I did leave, we could have, like, I guess we could have, but my dad's watching football, and he runs a football league, draft, fantasy, I don't know. Either way, like, he was busy doing stuff, so I'm like, okay, when I come back for the baby shower, we got it. And we were, but then they were calling for snow in Maryland, and I had to come back to Nashville because my inventory was that week, so like I couldn't get stuck, so I had to move my flight. So the time we were going to record, we didn't get to because I had to change my flight, which is really upsetting. So I never got to podcast with my dad, but he will be here in Nashville in April. So I'm going to have him podcast in my little podcast corner over here, and that'll be easy because he's here just to see me. Him and my mom are coming. So I'm going to have him sit down at my podcast corner and podcast with me. I think that'll be fun. That'll be cool for you guys. Yeah, I'm so excited. So that's really everything I have for you guys this week. Gosh, I feel like I talked so fast and threw so much at you, but it's okay. Just a quick recap. Can somebody figure out what we do if we run out of space for dead bodies? Can somebody figure out, what was the other one? Oh, why we find the middle finger offensive? Why is the middle